It's been a weird week. We got a lot of weird news this week about the COVID-19 vaccinations and the Delta variant, which is looming dangerously over us all. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today and some of the weird things that some people believe about the vaccinations, and it's just the strangest thing of all.
Well, I guess when you're bored, your imagination goes nuts.
That could be it. You're locked down and you come up with all these crazy stories, and it's easy to believe them. I don't know why. You're listening to Older and Wiser, folks. I'm Bob Bates in Los Angeles, joined, of course, as always, by Susan Sikora up there in Northern California.
Yes.
How you doing up there?
I'm doing okay. I said this morning, I had to get myself together here, and I said, it's taking a little longer all the time, and I'm not going for gorgeous anymore. I'm just going for presentable.
That's all we can expect, and presentable you are.
Yeah.
In fact.
When I get into the next zone is not embarrassing to her friends or family.
Let's talk about this item in Newsweek. The headline is, Survey shows majority of unvaccinated Americans believe microchips are in the vaccines. Okay. Can we just... First of all, it's such a crazy thing to believe. First of all, microchips are small, all right, but they're not microscopic, right? Maybe they're the size of the head of a pin at the smallest, more likely the size of a head of a thumbtack, but they're not small enough to fit through a hypodermic needle.
The point, though, is that, first of all, why would anybody do? I mean, no. Even Vladimir Putin is not interested in what I have in the morning.
Well, that's the other thing. Why do we care if anybody tracks us? First of all, the government can track me. I don't care. I'm sitting here all day. I'm not doing anything.
Even if they could do it, right? Yeah. Think about it for a minute.
They're not interested.
They don't have enough people in the IRS to follow up on the people who make gobs of money and don't pay anything and should. I'm not even talking about they get away with it legal. I'm talking about people who do illegal things, not you and me, obviously. But I'm talking about people who just try to cheat the government every year in April.
They don't even have enough people to do that.
They don't have enough to follow up on that.
So why would they be tracking some guy who lives in Alabama on a farm? It makes no sense. There's no logic to it.
Well, I don't know what they want, but and the other thing is this: whatever they want to find out about you, probably there's another way to find out already, or they already know.
Of course. So in other words, there are no microchips in the vaccines. That's the truth, the absolute truth. So why? So 1 in 5 Americans believe that there are microchips in the vaccines. That's just. To me, 1 in 4 Republicans.
You microchip your pet. You don't get microchipped.
No.
I'm sort of at a loss. Like I always go back. Maybe it's because of having done talk shows, and that's just the way I interviewed. But I went back. Why that? Why do they believe this? And why would they believe that? And what would cause them to believe these kinds of things? I don't know.
I know
it's disheartening. Critical thinking is not out there. I will say this before we go down the same path here. It's very tempting for people who are vaccinated and who are annoyed now because they thought, hey, I'm vaccinated, I'm okay, I'll take my mask off, you take your lumps if you're not vaccinated. But obviously that's hardly in the spirit of the common good. Mm-hmm. But it's a natural reaction, I think. But
my reaction is more than just I'm okay. Let's all take our masks off I'm also realizing that the fact that they're not getting vaccinated is slowing down the process of reaching herd immunity. Like we're not going to get there if they don't do it.
Okay, that's correct. But they think they have good reasons not to do it. And the point is, as a couple of doctors even mentioned yesterday in several interviews, all the usual suspects. And they basically said, if you take them on as, you idiot, you're dumb, you should, mm-hmm. If you take that higher than, better than thou attitude,
right,
you're not going to get anybody anywhere.
And they're going to get dug in.
You're yelling at them, and they're going to get are on their soapbox, and this is just going to go on.
True.
And nobody is going to meet in the middle and say, you know what, this is good. You have to listen. Again.
Absolutely. And maybe even us here, me complaining that there's a level of stupidity there that just is beyond my comprehension. That's insulting and not fair to the people who have these concerns and have heard this information and are honestly concerned about it. I do think it's good that companies are now requiring it because they're allowed to require it, that the U.S. government is requiring federal workers to be vaccinated. I think the fact that we're so worried about this COVID vaccine and being something that we dare not ask people, demand that people get, I think that time is passing, and I think soon enough it's going to just simply be a requirement to fly, to visit restaurants, to do a lot of things you want to do, and people who are sort of on the fence will go, well, if I can't do that, I'll get it. I don't care. It's like that. All right. Let's move on to our next topic today. Here's the headline. This was from Fast Company. A shocking percentage of restaurant patrons say they don't leave tips for the waitstaff.
I know. Wow.
Now, first of all, I would have assumed, listen, I know there's bad tippers out there, and I figured there's people who are going to leave a little tip. But according to this Harris poll, this is amazing. They asked 1,011 people about tipping, and only 82% said they typically leave a tip. Mm-hmm. So that means 18% don't. 18% of people get up from a restaurant meal and don't leave a tip.
Yeah.
Shocked?
I'm surprised. In some ways, I guess I'm surprised the number isn't even a little higher because
really?
I think right now people are watching every penny. You've got a lot of people saying,
call me crazy. You're watching every penny, but you're at a restaurant? Well, if you're watching every penny, you shouldn't be eating in the restaurant that has a waiter who needs to be paid.
You're not at the top. You're not at a 5-star, 4-star restaurant, whatever it is, all the time. This could be happening you sit down at McDonald's. Although McDonald's, you wouldn't get served.
No.
That's a bad example,
No,
too.
I mean, I feel like anybody who can't afford to tip can't afford to eat there. That's all.
Yeah, well, that's your law, but they're not thinking that way.
It says here that 91% of baby boomers said they do tip, while only 81% of Gen Xers and 72% of millennials. So
interesting.
The younger ones aren't tipping. It's not the old folks. It's the younger ones.
Okay. Can I make a point about that?
Yeah.
We have talked in the past about how things were more affordable when we were growing up. Things were certainly much more affordable when our parents were growing up. Okay. Yeah. They could afford to buy a house and pay it off.
So how does this affect tipping?
They don't have the money for it, and they want something to eat.
Yeah. I still feel like the argument that we can't afford to tip is that's really I'm not buying it because
they're going to say again, enough for the hamburger.
You're paying for service in a restaurant where a waiter has to come and take your order and serve you. Somewhere along the line, they have learned that they don't have to, or someone has said tipping is optional. So where it kind of changed, I'm not sure.
Well, technically, tipping is optional.
It is. You're right.
It is optional. You can walk out of a restaurant, and if you have a $30 bill for something that you had alone, even
pay $30.
You can pay $30 and whatever the tax is, and that's it. But you don't have to tip.
Is it are they thumbing their nose at tradition and custom, or are they lacking in simple concern for the waiter and the work that they do?
Or are they overwhelmed by other expenses and they still want to eat something out, even if it's not in the top of the line restaurant?
You are really doing a nice job trying to defend this. I love you for that because I'm on the other side of this. We need both sides.
I'm not defending it. I think that you should tip them. But what goes to the core of this, and they probably looked into it because they've got Twitter and all that stuff, that they've got everything at their fingertips. So they know that these people are not paid well. Now, you and I know they're not paid well, so we would never think of getting up from a table and not leaving something.
Oh, but some people might not know that.
And, well, I think they do. Maybe they think this is the responsibility of the employer, of the guy or the woman who owns the restaurant.
Maybe. The other possibility, what really, tipping is a weird and stupid a kind of a convention anyway, to be fair. If you need more money to pay the waiter and waitress, just charge us more and build it into the bill. The fact that we are kind of expected to add an 18% tip to our meal and then do the math ourselves and sort of add it and pretend like it's a special thank you to the person is kind of silly, because it's just a standard thing we do. In Great Britain, I believe they often just add it into the check, and you stick your card in.
Yeah, if you go with a group, if you have a group party, if you have an outing or a family event and you have it in a restaurant, they'll just usually add
it in
whatever
as a group.
20% or 15%, whatever it is.
We may be getting to the point where they just need to go ahead and add it in, or just get rid of tipping and pay people more. I'm not sure which.
The people who do this, depending on where they work, a waiter at an Olive Garden is not going to make what a waiter at a French Laundry is going to make. And so there's a big difference there. And bartenders can do very well also, and they're not running around and doing it. They're getting the drink and putting it there, and that's
Only
it.
60% of people tip bartenders, which is interesting too, and 26% of people put money in those tip jars, at the counter. Oh, well, interesting. I thought that was an interesting statistic.
If I'm on a line at, like a bagel store or something, and I'm going through and I'm getting it right there, do I put something in the jar? Often not.
No, look at a Starbucks. Do you worry about that? Oftentimes, no. Here's my card. You just run it. You don't worry. It's just like it's $1.
But if somebody's going back and forth, this is a little. Can you get me something? Can you get me a little more Parmesan cheese or what? They're going back and forth, and they're doing their best to make your meal fabulous. And then, you walk out and you don't leave anything. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
I do think it's a problem. I think it's not fair. As long as the system does not change, I think it's not fair. I think a couple restaurants actually tried this in the past, where they raised the prices so that they could raise their the pay that they gave their wait people, and
they lost business.
Not catch on.
Right. No, I agree.
And the truth is, if you sit down and have if you get a $30 bill for a fancy hamburger and salad or whatever, and you pay something, you pay the tip, or you pay a little more for that hamburger and there is no tip and it says no tipping, then that's it.
Yeah. Maybe tipping is a sneaky way of making the food look cheaper, and ultimately you end up having to pay more.
I think it's not so sneaky a way of the person who owns the restaurant to pay the people who work there less and hope they make it on their tips.
All right, next up, this survey comes to us from a company called Ownerly. And basically what it says is that many people simply do not know their neighbors by name. I don't think this is that surprising, especially in modern urban America. According to this, 1 in 6 people don't know any of their neighbors' names. Not one person. How about you? Do you know the name of any of the people in your area?
I know the name of the person across the hall. I know a person who lives upstairs. I know a person who lives across the way. Now, do I hang out with them all the time? No, but I know their names.
The names, we're only talking about that. 1 in 5 respondents age 60 and older reported knowing the names of 11 or more neighbors, almost double the rate of other age groups. Do you think older people find it more important to know who their neighbors are they just, in need of social contact?
I think it's a little of both. In the first instance, if your health is not good, or if, like a lot of us, when we get past a certain age, the doctor will say, don't fall, be careful, take your time, don't fall. So
you're thinking maybe we want to know our neighbors' names in case of emergency.
So that somebody misses you, so you're not,
Yeah, so they don't wait until the smell comes seeping under the door
say that you're
into
not
the hallway.
In the tomb.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find, and I seem to notice this from walks around the neighborhood, that older people will nod and say howdy, and younger people can cross paths with you and they will not make eye contact. They do not want to say hello.
First of all, they might be plugged in or looking down. And
so you don't think there's an age difference in terms of the conventions of being sociable?
Yeah, I do. I think that's part of it, but I also think that more of the younger people are walking around with their phones and they're looking at them, which I think is nuts because they can trip and fall too. But if they trip and fall and break a hip, it's not going to be the end of the world. For us, it could be the end of life as we know it, or
true.
certainly it could be life threatening. So you've got to be more careful when you're older. And I think that's part of it. And you've got to pay attention to who's coming and going. And now everybody should pay attention because if somebody's coming at you without a mask, you may at this point, especially if you're in a store, for instance, you want to, if you want to avoid them, you can.
Yes.
So that may be
that's possible
a habit
too.
you want to incorporate, and it might translate outside as well. I personally, if I see somebody and they make eye contact with me, or like sometimes I'll be walking somewhere on the apartment complex property and somebody's coming this way, maybe they're coming with a dog, and maybe they'll move over with the dog to let me pass by. That may be for dog reasons, it may be for COVID reasons, but I'll go by and I'll thank them, we'll make eye contact.
Yeah, sure. I think it's an age thing, honestly. I sort of remember days when I was in my teens and I would be walking somewhere with my dad. My dad would feel like he had to chat with everybody on the sidewalk, and I was rolling my eyes thinking, don't bother them, stop talking to everybody. And
I didn't roll my eyes. My father did that, though. I thought my father knew everyone in Long Branch, New Jersey. He came out of church, and everybody's going, hi, Teddy, and he knew everybody. And I also think that's part of it, too. It depends. Now, you may be very much...
But as a kid, you're not as socially adept, perhaps, and maybe you feel uncomfortable with engaging in conversation. So maybe that was why, as a young man, I did not, chat with everybody on the sidewalk. I wanted to keep on moving.
I'll tell you what else has changed. When we were growing up, not that it didn't happen, that adult strangers didn't have bad intentions for children, but we were more trusting, and we could be. Your parents could let you go outside. You could walk to the corner store, get yourself a candy bar with your 25 cents and walk back, okay? These days, the kids who
have been trained don't speak to strangers.
That's correct.
Oh, maybe that's part of it.
I think that's ingrained. And it's like, don't talk to strangers. Well, all of a sudden, you don't turn 20 and start talking to everybody on the street.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I bet that's right. I bet that's exactly right.
I bet you that's part of it. Plus, I think if you're outgoing, I don't say hello to everybody. Every now and then, though, I have walked by people totally strange who don't live around here.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, hi.
Yeah. I play it by ear. 50% for me, I say hi. To 50, I don't.
I think you got to read the face.
All right, our next survey. I saw this one. I thought of you. It's just a real quick headline, but it says here that recent survey reveals that cleaning your home can be a stress reliever.
You thought of me?
I thought of you because you love to clean your home. It was conducted by Bona, and they say that 9 out of 10 Americans say they feel more relaxed when their living space is clean. How about you?
I agree with that. The first part about you associating me with loving to clean, I want to know. My question is, what are you smoking?
Look, I'm looking at your apartment right now, and it's so clean and neat.
You're looking at
I see
18th of my apartment.
So you can't possibly pan the camera around because we'll see stuff.
Well,
yeah, no, I get you. Not asking.
It's not. You know what? It's not. Let me say this. When you live in a smaller space, as I do now, and it's fine, but you tend to pick up things more. It's not dusting. It's not about dusting. It's about putting something away.
Clutter is your thing.
Because otherwise you're like, and you spend half your life, you realize it way too late in life. We spend so much of our time looking for stuff that we already have. We know it's here. We know we didn't throw it out. We just don't remember where we put it.
In respect to this survey, it does, though, feel kind of good. If you've done the work to clean the house and then you're done and you put your feet up on the couch and you just sit there in the clean house, it is kind of relaxing, honestly.
Agreed. Yeah. And there are certain chores that I think when you do them, you feel like you're getting instant feedback right away. For instance, my go-to, even though I have to get the thing out and plug it in, is vacuuming. It's instant gratification. You run it and the dust is going back and forth. It's nice and fresh, and the carpet, even if it's a cheap carpet, looks better.
I never thought of that, but that's right. I feel the same way. There is something. Taking those swaths with the vacuum cleaner, and there's little specks of stuff in the carpet, and then you just with that push and pull, it's gone. It does feel good, doesn't it? It's very satisfying.
It was interesting in this study. Did it not say that people don't care for dusting?
Yeah, dusting's not a big.
Why? I could sit there and I'm vacuumed. I've vacuumed up to my ears that week, but I could be sitting there looking at a corner of the coffee table that the sun hits it every day and there's dust on it, and I will wait and wait and wait and wait and look at it.
You just don't want to do it, right?
And I don't know what it is about dust. I had to dust when I was little. That was my chore. And my mother had a lot of collectibles. So guess what? Pick it up, dust it, put it back. Pick it up, dust it, take it
that's
all
horrifying.
off, dust it, then put it all back.
That's where it came from. From your childhood. I hate folding laundry. I hate ironing. But I will tell you, when it's done, and I have a stack of T-shirts in my closet, all nicely folded, there's a sense of relief and a sense of happiness that goes along with that.
I don't mind folding. Ironing, forget it. I told you, I think I know where my iron is. And I'm going to tell you something else too, especially about ironing.
Yeah.
Right now, here we are in California. They're asking us not to use the electricity so much because if you get a hot day and people need the air conditioning, all of that. So I try to watch my little carbon footprint within my own space.
That's good.
And ironing is a big energy sucker.
Oh, is that your excuse?
Look it up.
I'm trying to save energy. I'm going to stop ironing. I am going to use that one. Okay. Moving on to our final topic of the day. This is the most popular ice cream flavor among Americans, according to YouGov.com. Are you excited to hear the result of this survey? What the number one most popular ice cream flavor is? Aren't you excited?
I'm not as excited about that as I am about mystified by why you would only pick one. But go ahead.
Well, there's a list actually, but we'll start with number one. And if I had a drum roll, I'd give it to you, but I don't. So here it goes: chocolate.
No surprise.
No surprise, right? It's kind of an anticlimactic, right? A little bit.
Yeah. I was never a chocolate ice cream person, and then I really got into chocolate big time. And now chocolate everything. If I could have chocolate pasta, I would probably eat it. But I do love chocolate, and I love chocolate ice cream. I don't dislike vanilla. I used to like vanilla a lot, but I like other things better.
Vanilla was also very popular. According to the survey, which was done by YouGov, they asked nearly 20,000 Americans what their favorite flavor of ice cream was. 17% said their favorite flavor was chocolate. Mm-hmm. Vanilla was 15%. Strawberry, 8%.
I don't like strawberry.
Mint chocolate chip, 8%. Love that.
Love it.
We'll talk more about mint chocolate chip in a second.
Okay, sure.
Butter pecan, 8%. Oh, God, I used to love that. I haven't had that in a long time.
My mother loved that. Yeah,
my mother loved butter pecan, too.
Ooh, yeah.
Chocolate chip cookie dough. Now, I have a weird thing about cookie dough. I have this thing in my mind that you can't eat cookie dough because there's raw eggs in it, so don't eat it because you might get salmonella poisoning.
I hear you. I'm with you.
Obviously, they don't do that in the ice cream, but...
Listen, if you want a cookie, have a cookie. If you want to clean out the bowl after you make cookies, a different story again. Do you have to blend it all with ice cream? I mean, you're already, chunking up as it is.
Like I honestly haven't even really tried cookie dough because of this fear I have. But I'm just wondering, does it taste just like cookies except doughier? Is that what it is?
I don't know. I don't eat it for almost the same reason you don't.
That tied with cookies and cream at 6%. So there's lots of really interesting. By the way, cup versus cone, which do you prefer?
Oh, cone.
Oh, interesting. Let's wrap this up by talking about our favorite all-time flavor. It can be anything. It can be a sorbet. It can be.
They don't make mine.
Oh, what is yours?
Stand by.
Okay. Again, drum roll required.
They don't make my favorite ice cream
anymore. They obviously did at one time.
No, well, actually, there was a rainbow ice cream when I was a kid. Seal Test rainbow ice cream was good, but that's not it. My favorite ice cream that is not made. You can get it once in a while here and there at a fancy ice cream shop. Licorice. See?
Yeah,
See
that
the
made my
face?
face go like,
Let me tell you
ew.
something.
I
I
don't
had this
think.
conversation with Ben and Jerry. They came on the show, and I told them, I said, why don't you make licorice ice cream? And they were on a book tour, and they said, somebody in Seattle said that. So they wrote it down. And I said, if you want a test taster, and they said, yeah, well, what's your phone? They had the whole thing. I was waiting and waiting and waiting. I even told them what to do for what to call it and how to do the.
What would you call licorice ice cream?
You would call it licorice stick, and
Okay.
there would be a silhouette. I think it would probably be public domain, but Ben and Jerry could afford it. They would have a silhouette of Benny Goodman, who played the clarinet, because the clarinet is called the licorice stick among people who usually play the saxophone and the clarinet.
Got it. Yes,
My dad did,
yes.
and that's what it's called. So people who play would know that, and
Yeah.
then you'd have the silhouette of Benny Goodman on the carton,
Got it.
and they like the whole thing.
Something.
And I love licorice.
Something to experiment with. I like
Yes.
the idea. My favorite ice cream of all time still is, and always probably will be, a mint chocolate chip, but not just any mint chocolate chip, the Breyer's mint chocolate chip, because there's something about the mint that they have. It's a white color. It isn't green. It's white with the chips. And
Yes.
the ice cream, because of the mint that they use, it makes it feel extra cold. So
Okay.
it seems it isn't colder. It's the same temperature as any ice cream, I'm sure, but it feels really cold when you're eating it, and so super, super refreshing. Mint
Yeah.
chocolate chip, Breyer's.
By the way, have you tried the mint chocolate chip that Trader Joe's puts out?
No, is that good? You love Trader's?
It's good. It's not the fake green color. It's the white ice cream with the dark chocolate chips.
Okay.
But twice within the last, I'd say, month or so, I saw in print. I think it was Real Simple Magazine had it in a couple, maybe it was more than a month, and somebody else mentioned how good that was. So it's
Interesting.
and I've tried it, and it's really it is good. Try it.
Going to
Let me
get
know
some
what
of
you
that
think.
at Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
Susan Sikora, thank you once again for joining us for an episode of Older and Wiser.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
tip your waiters and your waitresses, and if they bring you licorice ice cream, tip them better.
Even more for the licorice ice cream. All right.
Yes.
Folks, thanks for listening. For all the stuff that matters when you're 50 plus, visit us at olderandwiser.com, and we'll see you next time.